exactly backwards. The confirmation process doesn't make the justices appear political. The confirmation process has gotten political precisely because the court itself has drifted from the constitutional text and rendered decisions based instead on policy preferences. In short, the justices themselves have gotten political. And because the justices' decisions are often political and transgress their constitutional role, the process becomes more political. In fact, many of my constituents believe, with all due respect, that the Chief Justice is part of this problem. They believe that the number of his votes have reflected political considerations, not legal ones. And certainly there are academics who agree. There was a recent New York Times article, and in that article, academics appealed to the Chief Justice's political side. These academics asked him to intervene in the current Supreme Court vacancy, suggesting that it could be a so-called John Marshall moment for Chief Justice Roberts. Now, that's a political temptation that the Chief Justice should resist. I can't think of anything any current justice could do to further damage respect for the court at this moment than to interject themselves into what Chairman Biden called the political cauldron of an election year Supreme Court vacancy. In his recent speech, the Chief Justice said, quote, "We're interpreting law and not imposing our views." Further quoting, "If people don't like the explanation or don't think it holds together, then they're justified, I think, in viewing us as having transgressed the limits in our role," end of quote. Again, with all due respect to the Chief Justice, tens of millions of Americans believe correctly the Supreme Court has transgressed the limits of its role. Tens of millions of Americans believe correctly that too many of the justices are imposing their views and not interpreting the law. That's a major reason why we should have a debate about the proper role of a Supreme Court justice. And we need to debate whether our current justices are adhering to their constitutional role. As the Chief Justice remarked, although many of the Supreme Court decisions are unanimous or nearly so, the justices tend to disagree on what the Chief Justice called, in his words, the hot button issues. We all know what kinds of cases he has in mind when he talks about hot button issues: freedom of religion, abortion, affirmative action, gun control, free speech, the death penalty, and you can probably name a lot of others. The Chief Justice was very revealing when he acknowledged that the lesser-known cases are often unanimous and the hot-button cases are frequently 5-4. But why is that? The law is no more or less likely to be clear in a hot-button case than in other cases. For those justices committed to the rule of law, it shouldn't be any harder to keep personal preferences out of a politically charged cases than any other cases. In some cases, the justices are all willing to follow the law, but in others, where they're deeply invested in the policy implications of the rulings, those cases tend to turn out 5-4. The explanation of these 5-4 rulings must be that in hot-button cases, some of the justices are deciding based on their political preferences and not, as they should be, on the law. But if hot-button cases are being decided by politicians in robes, then the Supreme Court has no more of a right than the voters to be the final word. The Chief Justice regrets that the American people believe that the court is no different from the political branches of government. But again, and with respect, I think he is concerned with the wrong problem. He would be well served to address the reality, not the perception, that too often there is little difference between the actions of the court and the actions of the political branches. So, physician, heal thyself. In case after 5-4 case, the justices that the Democrats appointed vote for liberal political results.